Good evening, viewer, and might I apologise for my tardiness in bringing you editions of SOTD. Today is March 21st, 2023, and with the international break now underway, I have to play catch up with episodes 25, 26, 27 and 28, although there is a very good reason for the delay. I've had problems with my testicles, or rather, I've had a problem with one of my testicles, as it swelled up to about 4 times the size of my other testicle, which meant it was painful for me to sit down, stand up, lay down, move around, or do anything. Fortunately, my doctor requested an urgent scan at the hospital 2.5 weeks ago. I haven't actually heard anything from the hospital, but I've cracked on with the antibiotics and my testicle has reduced in size to almost normal, and virtually all of the discomfort has gone, so I can now sit down and create this crap. Oh, hang on, message through the earpiece. Yes. Right. Okay. Well, make your fucking minds up if you can, because either it is important to talk about men's health or it isn't. You cannot say it is and then state too much information when somebody does. Moving on, this is Guy Melton Mowbray Pork Pie. He is a relatively straightforward character, yet he is also very intricate in his makeup. Permit me to explain. The name was taken from Guy Mowbray, as it was either going to be Guy Melton Mowbray Pork Pie or Tony Hubba Gubba Bubble Gum, and for me, pork pie seems to roll off the tongue that little bit easier. Besides, there aren't enough pork pies on TV anymore, as the last one, to the best of my knowledge, was Ram John Holder, who played the character Pork Pie in Desmond's Barbershop. Moving on, Pork Pie is an avid, lifelong, long-suffering West Ham fan, and that pays tribute to Ian Abrahams, aka The Moose, who is a roving reporter on Talk Sport Radio. Every week, Pork Pie has to cover all 10 Premier League games in one sitting, which means he'll have about 12 seconds to travel from St James's Park to Stamford Bridge, then another 12 seconds to go from Stamford Bridge to Old Trafford, which reminds me of an incident on transfer deadline day many moons ago. During Alan Brazil's breakfast show, the Moose was sent to the West Ham training ground at Chadwell Heath, as a player was alleged to have been a late signing for West Ham. An out-of-breath Moose then went live on the breakfast show, announcing that, having spoken to some of the West Ham fans that were camped outside the training ground, that said player had indeed been spotted entering the complex about 20 minutes ago. However, things had been moving on in the studio, and without pausing for breath, or indeed giving any sort of shit, Alan Brazil promptly replied with, "Yeah, well, never mind that, Moose. There's been a development with a player at Spurs, so get your ass over to the training ground in Enfield." It was at that moment that you could hear a small piece of Ian Abrahams die inside. And for the dedication that commentators and roving reporters endure, Pork Pie's team of choice became West Ham, in honour of the Moose. Moving on, the voice of Pork Pie was only ever going to be one person, and that person is David Coleman, as all you have to do for a good David Coleman impression is stick a finger in your ear and say, "Ah," before talking. Thing is though, because Pork Pie has to travel great distances between interviews and sometimes gets a tad flustered, I could not go full on David Coleman, which is why Pork Pie is 85% David Coleman and 15% Zippy from Rainbow. Go ask your granddad. The final part of the Pork Pie jigsaw is the image of the man, and that was a no-brainer, as to be a football commentator, all you need is three things: a cheeky wry smile, an oversized microphone, and a sheepskin coat, as the quintessential image that everybody uses is John Motson. After the BBC let Motty go, he became a regular on Hawksby and Jacobs at Talk Sport Radio, and I travelled up to London Bridge to see if I could meet the great man, which I did, as I wanted to show him the caricature of pork pie and ask if he minded me using it for SOTD. I made the big man smile, and he said it was amazing, which is more than good enough for me. I said there would probably be some effing and jeffing from pork pie, something that Motty himself would never do, to which Motty smiled and replied, "Football is passion, and satire is satire, and so long as the swearing was in context and that there was no malice or hatred, it was fine by him." John Motson passed away at the end of week 25, and this episode is dedicated to his memory. True legends never die, and Motty, alongside with Coleman and Zippy, will all live on through Guy, Melton Mowbray, pork pie. Fulham 1, Wolves 1. Everton 0, Aston Villa 2. Leicester City 0, Arsenal 1. West Ham 4, Nottingham Forest 0. Get the fuck in! Leeds United 1, Southampton 0. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 4. Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 0. Oh, we don't do 0-0 games on this show. Tottenham Hotspur 2, Chelsea 0. And from match day 7, Arsenal 4, Everton 0, and Liverpool 2, Wolves 0. Goodbye, big man. Rest in peace and Godspeed.
Harry Maguire!